What is up, guys? New here. So I wasn't really gonna make this video, but I decided to because I made a tweet recently after watching the Panama versus U.S. women's national team, and I made a very calm statement, and it's basically my viewpoint where I said that Alex Morgan is not better than Carli Lloyd, and I said this very calmly and very easily, and I understood that I would probably get a whole bunch of rebuttal from it, basically from the Alex Morgan fans and that whole fan base and the U.S. women's fan base and whatever. I accepted that, and I knew it was coming. But here's so basically this video is basically going to break down why I believe that Carli Lloyd is a better fit based on where the women's game currently is at, and why Alex Morgan is actually better served, if not, as though I said currently not on the team, if you're going to place her on the team, she's better served in a certain area that I believe overall. When it comes down to it, a lot of teams, especially since we saw when we lost against Sweden in the Olympics in 2016, a lot of teams have started to believe that in order to beat the USA and not so much crush us, but in order to beat us or easily compete with us, it's more beneficial for those teams to play into an extremely defensive set. So what we've been seeing is a lot of 1-4-5s, a lot of just very heavily defensive sets. I've seen pretty much we consistently played against four backs over and over again, and we're starting to see more and more one striker, two striker lineups against us. So Jill Ellis's response to that, which, though not entirely incorrect, though not fully optimized, was to try to switch up the lineups and go for a more pass-oriented team so that we could try to build up better in order to break down these heavy defenses. However, in doing so, she started to generate and lean towards this lineup that focal pointed Alex Morgan in the front. However, from what I can understand and from how I view the game, Alex Morgan is not best served in this type of set. Now, is she going to score goals? Yes. Is she going to be at her optimal? No, and I don't believe so. And looking at our past games and our past lineups and all this stuff and all of our stats, because I've just been going through all of the world rankings and all the stuff like that, she just does not fit into that type of play style. Now, I presented in my earlier tweet that I made today, I presented a lineup that I believe would be more beneficial and easier able to break down heavily defensive sets. Now, when I listed my lineup, I listed a 4-3-3 set that I believe is more efficient than our current set that Jill Ellis plays. So what I listed for our 4-3-3 set, and this is going from the back going forward, in our back four, I listed Sauerbrunn, Ertz, Short, and O'Hara. Now, Ertz, to me, as well as Sauerbrunn, are incredibly talented center backs. Now, I understand that in Jill Ellis's current setup, she prefers to have Ertz in a center midfield, believing that it gives us a better offensive force. However, I don't believe that this is optimally using Julie Ertz. I believe Julie Ertz is an incredibly talented defender, but I also believe that her mindsets and her best utilized abilities is in a center back role. I believe she's very talented when it comes to being a center back as far as both sides of the field when it comes to center back. So for long passes as well as short passes as well as connecting passes, she's very good at intercepting. She's very good at using her body well in order to play off of people's runs. She's very good at dealing with people who are playing back to the ball. She's very good in all these aspects. However, I don't feel like she is incredibly talented when it comes to center mid. Now, this is not to say that she's not incredibly talented. I just feel like her decision-making ability that is necessary when you play a center mid role is not exactly there, and I don't think it's too much her detriment. I just feel like she has so less experience playing that role that it's becoming an issue in our midfield. Um, so I would much rather see her in our backline, holding down a very solid backline, and move a more heavily focused center back or center mid to that center mid position. Um, I mentioned names like I mentioned Lindsey Horan. I feel like Lindsey Horan, especially based off this last NWSL season, and overall is just having an incredible talent from that field. I feel like she plays that center mid position very well. She's willing to get forward. She's got incredible talent and incredible ability to both play in the air as well as to give deeper shots. So outside of the 20-yard box, she's very talented in that regard. She's also a very talented passer, and she's also willing to take the hard foul. And a lot of people seem to make this misconception with soccer where they say that a hard foul is dirty. A hard foul is not always dirty. A hard foul can be very intelligent. Taking a yellow card can sometimes be the best decision within a moment. And that's why I feel like she's very strong in that play. The other name I would name for that position would be an Ali Long. I feel like Ali Long plays that role incredibly well as the center mid because she's, again, willing to play both sides of the ball. So she'll take the hard foul if it's necessary, but she also is able to distribute well. She's able to move forward into the offense, and I just feel like that's a better suit with an Ertz behind that than it is for have Ertz in front of that. So going forward, and as I head forward, so in my next midfield line, I had Crystal Dunn, Izzy Haran, or Ali Long, and then I had Tobin Heath. I believe Tobin Heath is easily the most talented passer on our team. She also is, I can say with easy confidence that she's the most talented footwork-wise, but as far as immediately being able to break away, I can say there's other competition for her simply because other players are quicker than her. However, in terms of just basic footwork and on the ball ability, Tobin Heath is absolutely the best for our team. So having her in a center mid role benefits our team more as a whole because we had issues making connecting passes. Now, I'll talk about more why I feel like we've had issues making connecting passes in a minute, but I just feel like Tobin Heath in that role is very talented. And then Crystal Dunn on the other side of that feels very strong in that position because her speed allows her to both defend and play offense. However, pacing her in the very back line, takes away from her game. Now, she's on record of saying that she is okay playing any role. She just wants to play for the team, and she's happy just playing to her as best she can because she's so versatile. But she also stated that there is a little bit of a feeling where she wants to be able to play a particular role and she wants to become very, very good at that role. Now, I have to give her full credit for that because she handled it very calmly and with a lot of poise. She could have just point blank said she wants to play this role and she doesn't understand why she has to be placed in the defense. I also don't really understand why she keeps constantly being placed in the defense. It doesn't make sense when we have a player like a Short and an O'Hara to hold up and shore up our back line, and her talents are better suited to a right mid, left mid type of play style. So I don't really understand why she's consistently being placed in the back line. It just doesn't seem to be fully utilizing her to her best talents. She's very talented when it comes to taking on players one-on-one. She has incredible wing speed. She's very good at overlapping runs, and she's a very talented passer. So I don't understand why you would place her in the back line. It just does not seem to be the most cohesive fit for her. But going forward from that, as I've stated, my final front three would be Press, Carli Lloyd, and Mallory Pugh. Now, this is where I understood that this would cause the issue because this means taking off Megan Rapinoe and Alex Morgan. Now, I'm not saying that Alex Morgan is a bad player. I'm not saying Megan Rapinoe is a bad player. What I am saying is, if we are going into the games with this mindset that we need to break down incredibly tight and compact back lines, then we need players who can play a multitude of ways both offensively and defensively. And to me, Alex Morgan is not capable of or not willing to do this. When Carli Lloyd is in the game in that center forward position, you understand that she's going to come back and present herself so that she's able to receive passes and then she's able to distribute from that role. This allows us to break down these compact back lines because she's more willing to generate the offensive movement. Now, Alex Morgan is, to me, capable of it, but not to the level of a Carli Lloyd. Carli Lloyd physically is more able with her body to be able to set up and do this. She's more comfortable with her back to the basket. She's easily able to distribute with either foot. She's more knowledgeable of where her teammates are, and she's more willing to put the extra effort in if she makes a mistake. To me, when Alex Morgan makes a mistake, she stays at the top and just kind of does whatever. And when she's off sides, she's just kind of all sides, and there's not really much you can do, and she just kind of is what it is. Especially because when she's on the field, we become very one-dimensional. What I mean by this is, though we have the extra talent, we seem to seriously focus on going through her solely. And when she runs off sides, then the entire offense looks disconnected. And this has been said numerous times. You can go watch any game that Alex Morgan was featured in. It's been said numerous times that it just feels like the USA is not able to connect to the front line. It's been said numerous times throughout several games. And all you have to do is really just look at a couple games with Alex Morgan. You'll hear it being said that we look disconnected, we look disjointed, we look like we aren't able to connect passes. All these things are being said, and I believe the issue with that is Alex Morgan is unwilling or unable to come back and play that mediating role. And for us, if we're going to break down these 5-back, 4-back sets, we need to have people who are capable of doing that, which is why I prefer a Carli Lloyd, someone who is easily willing to do that in both sets. And for me, again, I further went on and said that I would not have a spot for Alex Morgan in my 23, because to me, if we have to go into it with that mindset, people like Sydney LaRue, people like A-Rod, people like Lynn Williams, all of those come to mind over in Alex Morgan because all of those players have proven they can do this. Now, if Alex Morgan is able to do this, and again, this is not to say that Alex Morgan is a terrible player. I'm just saying, if we're going into this with these mindsets and we're going to have to continuously play against these 5-backs, 4-backs, and we have to go into it looking at it as we need to be able to connect passes and move forward as a unit, Alex Morgan is not willing to do that. So if she is able to evolve her game, and again, this is what I'm saying, she can evolve her game and take herself to a new level if she's able to become better at setting herself up to receive these connecting passes. That's why I prefer Carli Lloyd. Now, if I break it down stats-wise, I'm sure people have thrown out there that, as far as goals per minute and assists per minute, Alex Morgan is the best. However, this is a misleading stat because much of Alex Morgan's early career for the USA was as a sub. She came in at the 70th minute. She came in at the 80th minute. She came in at the 60th minute. So her overall minutes were lower at that point in her career. So that way her goals and assists were magnified. And that's where I still feel like we can use an Alex Morgan at that 70th minute, at that 80th minute, at that 60th minute, even 65 minutes. To me, if I was most comfortable, if I had to put her on a team, the 65th minute would be when I would inject her into a team. Because then we can change the dynamic of our offense. We can go from this team that sucks, that really heavily presses at the front, presses in the midfield, and presses at the back, and it heavily works together, and we can change up our style entirely and go to more of these long outright passes when other people in their back line are going to be tired towards that 65th minute, towards that 70th minute. That's when I feel like Alex Morgan would be at her optimal usage to the team. However, I understood that people weren't going to accept that because they see the end results. And to me, I also agree that the end results are important. It's important that we keep winning. It's important that we keep proving that we're the best team in the world. It's important for all of these things. However, it's important to understand and analyze our team and understand the weaknesses that are currently there. It's also important that we take into account these weaknesses and try to improve them. Now, if that means removing certain players just because that you want to be able to optimize the team, you have to be able to do so. Now, I understand that Alex Morgan is a poster child. I understand that she brings a lot of attention to the female game. She goes out and she's I understand everything with that. However, if you are sacrificing the team's success, and again, I understand that we've been successful up to this point. However, we've struggled in several games that have featured Alex Morgan, most notably the Australia games in the She Believes Cup when we lost, and this recent She Believes Cup when we played Australia again, and we should have lost if it were not for Horan's goal at the end of that game. So, I'm saying that if we're really going to devote ourselves to this team concept of having to be able to break down these stiff back challenges, we need the type of player set that's out there. Now, again, I'm not trying to say that Alex Morgan is bad. I am not saying that. I am saying she is not the optimal choice for that type of mindset. And for me, Carli Lloyd is absolutely the optimal choice for that type of play set. Now, to me, Hope Solo needs to be on the team. Now, people have gone against that, and I understand that, Hope Solo is very outspoken. She can be very insensitive with some of the words she says, but understand Hope Solo is absolutely the number one goalkeeper in U.S. women's national history. She absolutely needs to be on the team. She absolutely deserves her shot. I understand that the issue that she said with Sweden was a little bit insensitive. However, what she said was factually true. Teams like Sweden, who are well coached, because Pia Sundhage is an incredible coach, is going to be able to play that incredible defensive style and then rely on counterattacks in order to beat the USA, as long as we present teams that are not able to break down that defensive mindset. So again, Carli Lloyd, Hope Solo deserves to be on the team. That's my opinion, but it's also factually backed because, again, she is our number one goalkeeper in history. I accept that, we're bringing up Nair. I accept that we're bringing up Alyssa Harris. I accept all of that. However, to me, the absolute best choice for the female team is Hope Solo. So when I overall look at everything involved with our U.S. women's team, it's great that we're getting wins. It's great that, we can look at it and go that, okay, we're 13-0-2 on this calendar season so far. It's great that we can say that. However, teams are catching up. When you go through and look, we only beat Germany 1-0. We only tied France. We only tied Australia. All of a sudden, Australia is an issue. We barely beat China. We barely beat China again. We struggled against Japan before we eventually won. If you really watched the Brazil game, we were actually struggling for quite a bit in that Brazil game. The Chile game was really not that close. The Australia game, again, we tied. It was very close. But certain games were just not very close. However, I just feel like if we really want to go forward in this mindset that Jill has stated, that we need to be able to break down these back lines, an offense with Alex Morgan who is unwilling, because I won't say she's unable, because she can grow to this level because it's something that she's capable of learning, but as long as she's unwilling to evolve her game and be able to connect passes by coming back and then going forward, she's not best utilized as a starter over Carli Lloyd. Now, if you still need her on the team, because again, to me, I could easily replace her with several forwards and have no issue with that. I could easily replace the midfield and have no issue with that with several forwards. There's several players that I could bring into the midfield and feel very comfortable with going forward, and I'll explain all that in a second. But to me, I just don't see what Alex Morgan provides that is so much better than what Carli Lloyd is able to provide in every facet of the game. Whether it comes in the air, whether it comes on the field, whether it comes passing, whether it comes defensively, Carli Lloyd, to me, has a much, much better ability and much better cohesiveness to the overall team concept, which Jill has stated is being able to break down a 5-back, 4-back with possession. And this was proven in the Panama game. Now, I understand Panama is not ranked very high. However, what you should have taken from that game is the way we were able to stretch the field, the way we were able to play the full width of the field in order to break down Panama effectively. That's how we were able to score so many times in the first half of that game. And then you combine that with players like, and I didn't even name players like Samantha Mewis, who I am very high up on. I like the way she brings, and I also like the height that she's able to bring, in that she's able to give us another level when it comes to set pieces. Her height is a credible weapon, and I enjoy seeing her out there. However, she does have the slight issue against smaller teams. She can get mixed up with her feet a little bit, but that's to be expected of someone who's a little bit taller than her opponents. However, overall, I feel like she's more beneficial than she is harmful, so I can easily see her finding a spot. But again, to me, if we're going to have this mindset that the team has stated, that Jill Ellis has stated as a coach, our best focus, our best foot putting forward is going to be a lineup that is more heavily focused on a Carli Lloyd, a Kristen Press, a Mallory Pugh, a Crystal Dunn, and a Tobin Heath type of forward offense. And Haran right in the middle of that. Because Haran, to me, is that type of player who can fit in that middle of that zone very, very well. Haran, Ali Long, Carli Lloyd, all of those can play that center mid position that is crucial to our team the way that we are trying to play. Now, I could also see a Zabroni. I could see her fitting in, because if we need a more defensive option, if we go up against like a Germany or a France and we're up 1-0, it's getting towards late crunch time, I could see a Zabroni fitting in there, because she's a more defensive-minded player who's incredibly good at making the correct decisions with her passes. She's incredibly good at calming down the team. She has a very good air about her that she's able to calm down the team and really bring a lot of calm to very tense moments. So I can easily see filling her in there. But to me, when we talk about, and Jill Ellis has said numerous times, she needs people who can play a multitude of positions. Alex Morgan can't play a multitude of positions. She can play forward. That's it. You can't place Alex Morgan in the back line. You can't place Alex Morgan in the center mid. You can't place her in the mid reel. She's not talented at that. She does not have that type of facet to her games. Now, she could improve on that and become an even more incredible talent and prove me wrong. However, the way I see it right now, she's single-faceted. She can get forward, she can press a back line to some extent, because you really only need to put one solid defender on her, and she has shown that she struggles against that, especially a more physical center back, such as the ones that France is able to provide, such as the ones that Canada is able to provide. Those type of players frustrate her. And then she starts to take very wild shots, very off-target shots. Her emotional level on the team appears to me to be very draining to the players around her. She does not always give, to me, the optimal effort that would be required in games like this. She does not appear to be the leader that is necessary for a game like this. To me, Carli Lloyd, at all times, you know what she's going to get. She's going to give you that aggressive side. She's going to give you that 70. To me, I would only play Carli Lloyd about 70 minutes, to me, just because monitoring her age. However, for that 70 minutes, I can expect on offense and defense, she's going to give me 100% effort. If she makes a mistake, she's going to hustle and try to defend. If she makes a good pass, she's going to move forward into the offense and present herself so that she can score. If there's a set piece, she's very good with her head, and she's very good at getting onto the ball. There's just so many things that Carli Lloyd provides that I just feel like Alex Morgan at current is not able to provide. Now, saying all that, having said all of that, once again, at the end of the day, USA winning is priority, As long as we win, it's good. To me, as long as we win, I can't complain forever. I can't go in on everything, because as long as we're getting the results, it's still good. However, if we're going to move forward, and as these teams start to catch up, start to play better, start to be able to break us down, and we start to struggle, and we still present this one-dimensional front line, because that's the way I see it, because basically, essentially, when we throw out the Megan Rapinoe, Alex Morgan, Tobin Heath front line, Tobin Heath is the only one I see who can still break down people effectively. Reliantly and effectively, she's the only one I see in that front three who can consistently break people down. Megan Rapinoe has a talent, to me, as a passer. Her supreme talent is passing. She's incredibly good at passing. She's incredibly good at set pieces. She delivers perfect balls that are spot on almost every single bit of the time. However, I don't see her as a forward. I see her as a midfielder. I see her coming in and replacing a Crystal Dunn. Again, managing her time, managing her minutes, and replacing a Crystal Dunn to allow Crystal Dunn to get that breather. Because again, Crystal Dunn has the type of play style where she's very quick. She's able to get in and outside of runs. She's able to do a lot of overlapping runs. She's able to distribute. Whereas Megan Rapinoe, to me, in my eyes, is best utilized as a distributor from that midfield. She's able to connect the back line and the front very well. That's Megan Rapinoe's bread and butter to me. That's what I see when I watch Megan Rapinoe. She's able to connect from that back line and that mid and that front line very, very well. She plays the best to me as a right mid, so that's where I would place her. I won't consistently put her in the front line because I just don't feel like that's the optimal usage of her. But again, this is all based on my viewpoints of the optimal way to use this. So again, I hope this explains why I choose a Carli Lloyd over an Alex Morgan. Why I would choose a Hope Solo over Alyssa Nair. Why I would rather have a Casey Short in the back and bring a Crystal Dunn to my midfield. Why I would rather play this entire 4-3-3 set entirely different from what we keep presenting. Now, the wins are all good, but if we're going to go forward, I feel like we will be exposed eventually by some team, and it's going to be an incredibly crucial moment, and we're going to lose because Alex Morgan is either unwilling or unable to evolve her game. And Jill Ellis is willing to place a set, as long as it continues to work and get the results. She's willing to ignore the weaknesses and the downsides to focus on magnifying the current lineup as it is. And I just don't feel like that's the best choice going forward for the U.S. Women's National Team. The last thing I want to say is to all you people who call Carli Lloyd and say that she's a dirty player. Fuck you guys. Just fuck you guys. like I have seen Carli Lloyd give her absolute all for the U.S. Women's National Team. She has done absolutely an incredible job for us as our forward. She has done an incredible work for us. You guys act like this is like 50 years ago. This is literally like 2 years ago, if not almost last year, that she won us a World Cup by scoring a hat trick with one of the most incredible midfield goals I have ever seen, either men's or women's. To disrespect her and call her simply a dirty player is absolute bullshit. And people are furthering it by saying, oh, well, did you see what she did in the Panama game? Do you understand? If she was a truly dirty player, she could have absolutely drove her foot through that girl. She could have absolutely ended her career, and she pulled back. She put her hands up, and she pulled her leg back so that the minimum damage could be done to her body. And then, on top of that, outside of camera focus, because you guys continuously go to this Alex Morgan point and said that Alex Morgan, went out there and gave her a handshake and did all this, she checked on this girl not once, not twice, but 3 separate times to ensure that she was alright. This goalkeeper that she accidentally, in the field of play, injured, she checked her 3 times to make sure she was okay. She also looked at the ref, assuming the ref and imploring the ref to cut the game, so that what ended up happening with Mallory Pugh, unfortunately for her, and again, I'm sorry for Mallory Pugh, but again, the right decision was made. Your goal had to be revoked because an injury to the goalie makes an unfair advantage for us. You have to call that play as it is, and that ref did a bad job in that moment by not calling that play dead right there. But it was on Carli Lloyd 3 separate times to check on this girl and make sure she was okay. She checked it 3 separate times. You can go back and watch. She did it. She did it the first time before the dress came out there. She did it the second time when no one else was watching. She walked past the ref when they were resetting and pulling everything back and pulling the goal off. She went back and checked on her again. And at the end of the game, when no one else got the camera, when she did not get the camera on it and they did a wide angle, you can clearly see her walking herself down, and the first person who checked on that goalkeeper was Carli Lloyd. So do not give me this shit that she's a dirty player. She's an aggressive player, she's a very strong player, and she's very physical, but that is the extent of what she is. She is not a dirty player. Do not go there. And to everybody giving bad-mouthing Pew plays incredibly well for us. She does not always score the goals, but she's incredibly impactful with what she does. Her runs, I would say her runs are more impactful than an Alex Morgan's. Her runs are almost always, she's always onside. She's able to outspeed whatever back is at there, and she's always looking to give a perfect pass to the center of the field. It's perfectly centered, and if anyone runs onto it, they're able to get passes. Now, the only place I saw her really, and I simply believed, and I said it as I was watching the game, she just kicked the ball too hard. Because Press should have been able to score on the play against Panama, but that ball was delivered just a little bit too hard. But for people being as hard on Mallory Pugh, and don't tell me it didn't happen, because if you go and watch that Panama game again, you can hear the announcer, whatever her name is, clearly says numerous times that Mallory Pugh is not imposing herself on this game enough. Mallory Pugh played excellent that game. She delivered incredible runs. She delivered very intelligent passes, and the only downside of that game was that she got the goal taken away of her. And again, that was necessary. I'm sorry to her. Scoring goals incredible at that level. It's got to feel incredible. However, that play needed to be called dead, so that goal needs to be taken away from you, and you have to accept that. And I'm sure she does. But do not take away from what Mallory Pugh has brought to the team. She's incredible talent. That's all I really have to say. You guys can comment whatever. I don't really care. I just needed to stop going to my Twitter because I can't really respond on Twitter because it's only 180 characters. So if you want to comment on this, go ahead. But it is what it is. I said all I needed to say. Have a good day. Louis out.